Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this Team Wars talk, week 7. So, I am Kerno King. I'm going to be your host for today. I'm stepping in, and yeah, we're joined by a lot of great people, and we're going to go over some of the match reports, the meta-analysis last week, and maybe some match predictions and a quick look at the new box at the end. So I'm just going to go from top to bottom. If everyone just wants to introduce themselves quickly, then that would be great. So yeah, do you want to start with Andy? Do you want to go?
Hi, I'm Andy.
Great, thanks, Andy. Caleb?
Okay, so hello everyone. My name's Caleb, and I play for Infinity, and I'm a Brazilian player. Basically, that's the everything that I want to say right now.
Great,
You guys
thanks.
know the basic stuff, right?
Yeah. And then Love Train?
Hey, I'm Love Train. I play for DS, Sense, and yeah, that's me.
Great, thanks, Love Train. And the next man needs no introduction, but he can give one
guys.
anyway.
My name is Victor Lee. Who you guys? I'm a member of Team Divine. I'm the team coach actually for Divine. So I hope you guys enjoy the show today. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff. All the team
Great.
matches, match report. Colonel is kind enough to give me some time to. But by the way, to promote my book, my book just released yesterday for the. It's called Victory Gaming, right? It's the number one book. It's the first ever educational book for you actually. Okay, and I go into detail on how to approach the game the right way, including how to build the optimal deck, how to prepare for new meta, how to take advantage of the current meta before the new meta, right? What to look for in the new box, how to prepare for tournaments, all those stuff, right? How to bluff. So I hope definitely check it out. Again, I appreciate Colonel for giving me some time to promote this. But yeah, I'm sure it will help a lot of players. I'm really. It took me like a long time to read the book, so definitely, I'm
Great. Thanks,
really
Victor. I'm sure we will.
The knowledge in this book is fundamental and revolutionary. It's never seen before. Okay, it's never seen before. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I'm sure we will get into the book a lot more later. Thanks very much for that. So, hi. I've just seen Neg has just joined us. So, do you want to go, Neg, and introduce yourself for those who don't know who Neg is?
I'm Neg1. I play this game and I've won some KC Cups or whatever.
Great. Thanks, Neg. And Zenzo, do you want to go?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm Zenzo. I'm currently playing for God Chosen, and this is my second Team Wars season, I think. And I'm also currently a part of the Duel Links Meta Top Player Council.
Right.
I recently started playing Duel Links tournaments, like mostly because of the global epidemic, the Corona stuff. Yeah, and a good friend of mine, like my fishing and testing partner Prince K, he like convinced me to like join a few tournaments, and yeah, here I am. And yeah, thanks for having me, Cairo.
It's okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Sorry, what was that, Andy?
Nothing.
Oh. So yeah, just for a bit how this is going to go, we're just going to run through the week 7 match reports, and we'll go through the ones where we have someone from one of the teams here first. We'll do a quick discussion on the match report, and then everyone can sort of have a free-for-all talk about all of the games, and then we're going to go and have an in-depth look at the meta analysis from week 7 and see if there are any trends we can pick up for there, and then on to week 8 and the new box that's come out, and that will probably take us up to our time. So we're going to get started with week 7 match reports, and the one that is first, the reason this is first is because, well, at first it was the first game of the week, it was on Friday, but secondly, it's the only game where 2 people in this voice chat were involved. So I am the team captain for Abusement Park in my spare time, for those of you that don't know. And of course, Victor Lee, as already explained, is the coach for Divine, and he also played and streaked in the match. So Victor, I think that means you have the right to go first and talk about this one. Take it away.
I appreciate it. So we're going for this week or last week's report, right?
Yeah. So if you can see on the screen, you won 10-9. Mars clutching out with 3 Karakuri wins at the end.
Okay, sounds good.
So
right. So I believe I went 4-2.
Yep.
And then Mars went like 3-1. So that was a close war. We had a few close wars this season. And it all come down to the wire, and with one of our team members closing out. So I was really happy that we have a lot of clutch players in my team, in Divine. So for this week, I think I feel like just every time I had to go 4-2 for us to win, to do well consistently. But so I want to mention like many players in Divine right now had to like perhaps step up a little bit, because I feel like it's always like two players who's carrying the team, during the war. But it's all good, it's a learning process. We got many new players this season, so we are still learning as a team, and hopefully we don't have to decide on the last game this week.
Yeah. So obviously this is now I think Divine's 4th season, but you joined them last season, I believe, and they made playoffs for
that's right.
For the very first time last season. And you're in a position now where it could go either way. So you're 4-3, and you probably have to win two of your next 3 quite comfortably to make playoffs. Very similar spot to Abusement Park, my team, by the way. Both 4-3 teams. Both going into this next group desperately needing 2 wins to go through. And this obviously was for that reason such a huge win. What was your main secret? How did so obviously Karakuri is the one that took so many lives in this game. Have you been practicing any new techs or anything like that in Karakuri's, or just what's your secret?
It's in the book.
Okay, so first of all, keep my book. Definitely. Like if you want to learn more about the game, definitely just keep my book.
For sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, So I before I go into the decks, I want to say in terms of the next 3 weeks, we have pretty good matchups. The only challenging team will be the BMP, Brick and Potatoes. They're a really good team, really consistent. So that will be our only challenge. I would say we will have no problem against the other two teams, with all due respect. They are a decent team as well, but I just feel like we have more firepower, in terms of versatility. But going to the deck, Karakuri is definitely my first choice for Team War.
Yeah.
Because I would say Karakuri and SSA is definitely the deck to use for this KC Cup. Okay, you guys should definitely watch out for those 2 decks. It's gonna be the best decks. Karakuri, because of its combo, you set up your board, it's so strong, super strong. Once you set up your board going first, right? You have like 3 back rows and 3 monsters. SSA is the most consistent deck. Have been that for a while, for like almost 1 year now.
Yeah.
So I don't, but I'm not that good with SSA, right? Like I haven't practiced with it too much, but I might just practice like this week. Right? I just gonna ask from play with all the top Crystron players, right? And Nick was one of the best Crystron players out there, so definitely watch out for him. He's gonna play Crystrons as well. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But Karakuri is definitely the first choice. I use Shira, right, as well. Shira is a control deck. You always want to think in a Team War format. You want to make sure the first deck is pretty generic, right? It's good against all the decks, so it should be like a tier one, and then your second deck should be like it counters the deck that counters your tier 1 deck. Your first deck. That's my approach, right? So what counters Karakuri? Let's think about it.
Well, I think we'll step in here because we tried something that didn't work out, which is I think stealth attack Crystron, which you can see we lost with twice in a row when we had a chance to clutch out the war, is one thing that we felt maybe not a direct counter, but has a good matchup when everything goes right, because Sea Stealth Attack can be quite hard to out with Cosmic Cyclone. But obviously, the consistency of Karakuri with Restart in just building such gigantic boards is made it tough for us. And yeah, we unfortunately had a bit of a brick situation as well. But I think this match report proves that well, it proves one of two things. Either we're terrible at the game or Karakuris are hard to counter. And I like to think it's that Karakuris are hard to counter. So, yeah, we'll just go with that one.
Did we? Definitely, I agree. I completely agree. So for SSA, maybe you guys just got unlucky, right? You just bricked. Because that happens, like, if you break, like, your last, say, if the score is 8-8, right, and you break your last 2 games, it's pretty bad, right? It happens, though. It happens sometimes. Like, it happened with my Clan War team, MHC, right? We just break.
Mm-hmm.
Round 1, round 2. Yeah, so, but it happens, you know, you want to maximize your chance. I would definitely say SSA is still one of the 2 best decks for Team War, you know, because you don't, it's really hard to, like, in a match format, it's hard to side as SSA, right? It's hard to take out cards, but that's why, like, because it's game 1, it's really strong. So it's kind of a way like Konami makes it like more balanced, right? It makes decks like Karakuri and SSA really good game 1, but make it really difficult to side out game 2 and 3. You know, yeah. So something like that. But
yeah,
yeah, I really like Karakuri.
For sure.
I think.
Yeah.
Since it's really strong.
I
don't want
think
to take too much time here.
no, it's cool. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, pal. We will. Yeah, we're going to move on now, but I'm sure we will cover Karakuri much more in the rest of this because.
If I could say something really quick, I
Yeah.
want to say that like restaurants have like even like just SSA has changed a lot from like maybe like the January like the January-February builds to now, like partially because it has to pretty much because it has to adapt to the ban list, but like it's like right now it's not like as grindy as it used to be. It feels a lot more like aggressive with like wheel hitters and even like the level dupe. I think it's actually pretty comparable to a deck like Blackwing.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see merit to that. It's definitely not at its power level as before.
I used to be a Crystron player, and then I never like I played it because I have the cards and it was a good deck. But then I just didn't play it after it wasn't like the deck you have to play. And then playing it again now, it feels so different, and it feels like I'm kind of learning a new deck sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, and again, I'm sure Crystron we will cover in week 7 meta-analysis because yeah, I don't think it did too hot this week. Anyway, on to the next match report, and that is Sun Clan v Draw Sense. So staying in the same division. And yeah, Love Train, do you want to go over this game and another close 10-9 victory that you clutched out?
Yes, it was really close game. If you watch the game, like last match, we won with 100 HP left. We were really lucky and really close game. So after the game, we were really happy. And yeah, Sun Clan was really hard opponent for us. But as I mentioned, we were just lucky and we won.
Yeah. So this was a huge match for those that don't know, because the winner, after My Team Amusement Park lost on the Friday, it meant that the winner of this game guaranteed finish top of the league going into the second phase, which we'll get into a little bit later. So yeah, were you guys nervous beforehand? Is there any sort of, how did you prep for this one, knowing that?
We were aware that the winner will be the first place. So we prepared kind of hard before the match, and yeah, we kind of analyzed what Sun Clan user and Sun Clan members used, and so on. Yeah. Therefore,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, Karakuri, as is a theme of this week, streaked for you with UK. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, he got his 3 wins. Though it is worth mentioning, you lost 2 Karakuris beforehand in that. So yeah, not having it all your entire way. I'm pretty sure this must be close to the most wins without Karakuri this week. But yeah, you really clutched it out. What is your opinion on Karakuri? How are you dealing with it right now?
Yes, Karakuri is a really stable deck until now, but you don't need to trust Karakuri much because another stable deck is, for example, Invoked Magician Girl. It's really good deck now in the meta. So we kind of reduced the number of Karakuri and increased the number of Magician Girl. And so, yeah, and the results was fine, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you managed to win and clutch out the league. So obviously it worked. It worked for you. And yeah, I am now noticing there are a couple of Invoked Magician Girls and even an Invoked Roids in there, which is a deck that did see a lot of popularity at the start of the season, but dropped down. But yeah, you brought it back in and it pulled out one of those late wins for you. So that's good. And yeah, Blackwings. No, sorry, that's the other team. But yeah, clear that you have got Invoked Magician girls in there. Great. Okay, thanks very much, Love Train. Stick around, everyone, because we will be calling on everyone again for the meta analysis. But I am just going to go through these match reports. And the next one, so Zenzo, you can take this one. A pretty convincing win, 10-5. So tell us how you prepped for this and tell us how it went.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
It's all right.
Yeah, give me a second.
Yep.
All right. So what was the question again?
So just, I said that obviously this is a pretty big win, the biggest win we've seen so far, 10-5. And also we're in a position where you went 5-2 yourself, which is pretty impressive as the starter. Obviously, because people get a chance to counterpick you very early. So yeah, tell us how you guys all prepped for the week and just explain how it went.
Oh yeah. So an important thing, like to say, is that the week before we lost. I think it was 10-1 or some shit. Oh, sorry. We lost to like Diffusion. I didn't play, but like there was a lot of drama going on, and we've had a few changes with coach and management and stuff. And we were also like we also had some members leaving the team.
Yep.
And yeah, so we had to kind of regroup, and we got a new coach within Mystic. And I think this was probably the match where we like prepared the most, where I personally felt like every team member was given their input on how the lineup should work, should look like, compared to the like other weeks. Where we had guys like, who would say, yeah, witchcraft up, put that shit on. But like, this week we like prepared way better, and we saw that MY wasn't a really Crystron heavy team, and that they would only like usually they bring like one or two SSA Crystron or Crystron 11 do Crystron in general. So the plan was I didn't want to use Magician Girls, honestly, but like I don't know, I just gotta take one for the team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I think there is a lot of that in Team Wars. Sometimes you have to play a deck that maybe isn't your favorite deck, but it just pairs really well with your other deck. And yeah, that's an important role. And I think that is something that most good players are all doing. So yeah, you guys, you have had quite a lot of changes. Obviously, two players on the roster there, BL and Hills, that I think are new players to your team. They didn't get a chance because you clapped so hard before they got in, but I'm sure they're going to be helpful throughout the season.
Yeah. I mean, like every member on our team was like a big asset as to why we won. Like I wouldn't like. I mean, 5-2 is like I honestly didn't expect to go 5-2. Like I knew I would go like at least positive, like maybe maybe 3-2 or maybe 2-2, and get the counter pick advantage.
Yeah.
And like my pair is very weak to Crystron, right? To
Yeah.
SSA Crystron in particular. So like the game plan was to like lure the Crystron out as fast as possible, so the other guys could do the job later. But it turned out better than expected.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they didn't have a Crystron, so it worked out great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I can see Snake in the chat. Yeah, there. Yeah, congratulations for going 4-1. So obviously you guys are in a bit of a tough spot now, where you're 3-4. So for those that don't know, to make playoffs, you generally have to be a pretty good 6-4 team. That means that your round difference has to be positive, and you have to be on 6-4 because that's sort of the cutoff. Now, if you can put a run together in these last 3 games and win some more 10-5, then you've got an outside shot of making playoffs. So yeah, you just have to work on. Do you feel ready for that task? You feel ready to try and push as hard as you can for the final 3 weeks?
Oh yeah, of course. I think this was like the third match where I was on the lineup, because most of the time, like the thing was, Clan Wars was also going on at the same time, so it was kind of hard to schedule like Team Wars and Clan Wars.
Yeah.
Like there were some matches where, for example, some members couldn't play because of Clan Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But now the Clan was over pretty much. Like we lost an ACQ. Like I'm all down for like trying to make the playoff thing.
Yeah.
Even though we are like even though we have the negative record, but with the recent preparation and how we took on our opponent, I feel like we can do it if we can just keep going like that.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone, you've got to believe. Anyway, thanks very much, Zenzo. We will come back to you when we go through meta-analysis. I'm going to move on to the next game now, which is Forbidden Ones versus Infinity, and Infinity winning this one 10-8. Caleb, do you want to take this away? Obviously, you opened and you went 4-2, so that's very impressive. And a nice win for you guys. What do you want to say about it? We lost Caleb. Right. I think we have.
Okay, here.
You are
I'm
here. Okay, were you on mute? This was like a Zoom
muted
work
for some
call.
reason. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
was talking this entire time, bro. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Anyway,
you go. Take it away.
Sure. I mean, it's really good to play with Japanese players. They're really respectful. They're, at least the ones that I know, they're really respectful. They are good in the game. But you have some cons, right? Like you have the training sessions that are really early for me because I work. I'm an English teacher and etc. So I work in the morning. So the majority of the trainings I've lost. And you have the language barrier as well. In the voice calls, even though I was screen sharing for him, but I didn't understand a word. Of course, I mean, the only one that knew to knew English was Taimei, because he know the name of the cards, so it was a little bit easier to communicate. Because I think that it's better to, like, 2 people are thinking. Maybe some people will say that they prefer to play alone and etc. But for me, I think that like 1 brain is better than 2 brains that are better than 1 brain. Sometimes it's going to mess up, but for me helps a lot.
Yeah.
And the training was tough. I was able to train sometimes with them. Like I had to wake up really early when I didn't have to work to train with them. And the deck choice, I mean, since we joined last week, the team, I didn't have a lot of information about which deck someone liked to play the most and etc. So I handed that task to Taimei to do which is the coach, right? The Japanese coach of the team. And he came up with this lineup, which I really liked it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of weather painters, but the rest of the decks are really fine. And should I talk about the matchups, or like should I go through
You
all
can
the
you can in a
the
minute,
games?
but I'm just gonna
Sure.
I'll let you jump in that in a minute. But there's something really interesting
Sure.
you said there that I want to sort of throw out to the group and see what everyone's thoughts are, and that is on voice chat and sort of the language barriers that you have to deal with that. So that's something that all teams have to face and deal with in one way or another.
Yeah.
So there are very few teams now where you're all from the same region, and I would just be really interested to hear what anyone's thoughts are in general about voice chats. Do all your teams use voice chat? Are you all talking in that? Do you have like separate ones for different languages? So yeah, that's an open question. If anyone wants to talk about how they use voice chat in Team Wars, then go for it.
Oh, I can only speak for
It's not a
myself.
problem. It's not a problem. We only hire English-speaking players.
Okay.
Well, you can go ahead, Mr. Victor Lee.
Okay, appreciate it. So we only hire English-speaking players, so it's not an issue.
Okay. Does that mean?
I'm joking.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. It just happens. I feel like most players speak English anyways, you know.
Yeah.
so it's not a huge deal. Like most players speak
Yeah.
English, you know, a little bit English, decent level anyways, right? So for example, we have a few German players, right? They speak their native language is German. So but they still speak decent English, right? So it's not an issue. There's never like a communication issue. The only thing I would say, like Khalib mentioned before, I agree. You know, sometimes you can have multiple players. It's better than one player in terms of thinking, right? But it takes time off the clock, so you gotta keep that in mind, right? If you have multiple players in the same voice chat, it's gonna take some time off the clock. So you have to be mindful of that, so you don't lose too much time. Because so many games, when we were discussing going back and forth, we had like only 10 seconds left, right? We had to finish the turn in 10 seconds. So that's really that could be a problem, right? If you don't really if you manage it well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that time is definitely something you have to be wary of when speaking.
Yeah.
I personally, we have players that are 50-50 on whether they like to speak in voice chat or not because they worry about time, or it's also confusing when there are lots of voices in there. So sorry, Zenzo, I just cut over you there. Do you want to take your chance now?
Oh yeah, sure. I don't think it's a bad thing to have somebody else like in a call, and like because like if the more opinions you have or the more options, because the other guy who's watching, he can see the game from a different perspective if you're screen sharing. But like if you're not like screen sharing, I don't think like voice chat is necessarily a good idea, because first of all, the stream is behind, and second of all, they only the player who's playing can see the delays, can see the hourglass. Like I'm only like in favor of voice chat if it's screen shared, and if it's like maybe one to two players at max. Like Victor Lee said, if there are too many people, like you get too low on time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Caleb, is that mirroring what you sort of think about all of this?
Yeah, sure. I think that is really important. Like if you are screen sharing, because it's better to communicate, right? So if you're not screen sharing, probably people are going to be talking things that you have done like 20 seconds ago because they are seeing the live stream. So it's not a good thing if you're not screen sharing. But what I do to don't be a mess in the voice chat, I do it's like, for example, I play Shernoi, so I know how to play Shernoi. I'm a good player of Shernoi. Just an example, okay? And I have another person in my team, another teammate that is good with Shernoi as well, right? So this specific person is going to help me in this matchup, and the rest is just going to be watching, you know. And if someone goes to play with Karakuri and other players going there to help him, so the voice chat is not to become a mess, you know. So that's what I think about voice. But the only problem with our team is that the majority of the players are Japanese. It's not a problem, but it's like it's something to deal with, you know, because
So
they
it's a
don't.
problem.
they don't speak, the majority of them, they don't speak English. So we need to use the translator, you know. So even it's like it's a kind of wasting a lot of time if you're like typing and trying to communicate with them. So like it's kind of difficult, but you can handle if you have someone at least that is trying to help you and it knows about the deck. It's better if the person knows the card names in English, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And yeah, so one more on this. We'll move on back onto the match report now. Just one more thing. So yeah, you mentioned that you're a Shiranui player, and obviously you started the game with 3 wins of Shiranui, which really set you up for the rest of the war. What are you thinking on Shiranui now? You think it's a great opening deck?
I mean, to be honest, I think that Shiranui it's a really strong deck. Mainly the trap one, the control one, you
You
know,
mean like
because you
combo
have
or control?
no the control
Control.
one.
Yeah, sorry. I should have clarified. That's control Shiranui we're talking about
I
here.
was playing control, and I really think that it's a really good deck. Although I think I really completely agree with Victor that Karakuri it's best, but I feel more confident playing with Shiranui. So I started because you know it's really hard when you go 0-2, right, as a starter, because you know a game can be decided by 1 or 2 points.
Yeah.
So if you go with a deck that you're not confident just because it's the best choice, you maybe you're going to lose, you know. So I prefer to go with a deck that I have confidence rather than going to a deck that I don't have a lot of practice.
For sure, that makes sense. Anyway, thanks for that. And like I said, we will draw everyone back in for the meta-analysis. We're moving on to now. Okay, so this is a game that I commentated on, but and I actually already spoke to -1 right after that. But this is maybe now the dust has settled. It's a couple days ago. Neg, you obviously won 10-6. It put you in a good position at 5-2 for going into playoffs. And Lost Tribe were also top of the league prior to this week, so a very big and important win. What are your overall thoughts, and how do you streak so well with Karakuri?
Well, I think at the end of our week 3 game, I think Jason said, after going like 8-2 with Karakuri, he said something to the effect of, we recognize Karakuri is the best deck, and if you don't agree or if you're not utilizing Karakuri, then you're behind, essentially. So that's just like what we do now.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean you can tell. I can see one. So every player that came in for you had Karakuri on their 2 decks. So, and is that MA that actually brought 2? So yeah,
So that's not a disinput
Did you see his?
idea.
Did you see one of his decks?
did I see one of his decks? What do you mean?
Did you watch the war?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
put, like one of his decks is like really weird. One of his Karakuri decks.
Yeah, so there are lots of text that you can put into Karakuri now, which is I'm sure something we'll go on to. But
Yeah, I think the key is to figure out the optimal build, right?
hmm But then there are to counter that,
And,
there are the not
we can see
optimal
that Karakuri
builds.
doesn't do too well in the tournament format. Yeah,
There-
like in a best of 3,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Best of 3. Karakuri hasn't won a tournament yet. Yeah. So my point is, it's debatable, right? It's debatable between Karakuri, SSA, and I forgot to mention earlier, Magician Girls. Those 3 decks, but you had to use one of those 3.
And one thing with Karakuri can do, which I would say that not many other decks can do, and obviously Tier 0 utilized this quite well, is some of the builds ran different tech cards. So Necro Valley and not Necro Valley. So Neg, I'll come back to you on this one. I'm assuming you're not putting Necro Valley in all of your builds. Obviously, it worked well for Jason when, as you mentioned, he streaked very well in the first place. But do you have some Necro Valley builds for certain decks, and then decks with, I don't know, offerings or another tech card for other matchups?
Well, for this week, we noticed from Lost Tribe, whenever they have to fight Karakuri, they send in Kristrons, and we think that's a mistake. So all of our Karakuri, I'm pretty sure, had Necro Valley, just because like if we have Necro Valley in the deck, they'll try to send Kristrons at it, and then when their counter inevitably like fails, like most of the time, we'll just like have a streak, a scenario, you know.
Yeah, and that did happen a couple of times, especially at the end with Willie. It sort of felt like he could have kept on going, really. Obviously, he just won all previous games with Karakuri pretty quickly. So yeah, and that's interesting then. Obviously, we were in an awkward situation where it was the last deck we had left, but yeah, I think there is definitely an ongoing debate right now as to whether Sea Stealth Attack Crystron is a counter, just in that Sea Stealth Attack itself is hard to out for Karakuri. But I suppose when you draw half your deck and CC is in your deck, that is in itself an out, isn't it? So maybe that is part of the issue. And yeah, what are your plans for Karakuri rebricking? Just if you have enough of them, it won't matter.
Well, so the idea is that if you run 0 Karakuri, you're afraid of rebricking, and it's like if you run a few Karakuri, it's like you're trying to gamble on not rebricking. However, when you run like multiple Karakuri, like we did we bring like 5 revealed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like when you bring 5 Karakuri, you're not like gambling, you're doing the math. Like, granted, one of those, like, because how consistent it is, there will be a time that, or I guess how inconsistent it can be. There will be times where it will brick and then you will lose out on potential wins. However, when you bring so much, it's like you're accepting that it will brick a percentage of the time, but the rest of the time you will streak.
Yeah, for sure. And that worked out for you very well with Karakuri winning. I think it's something like 7 out of 10 of the games. So, or maybe 6 out of 10. A lot anyway. So yeah, congratulations. Right, we're going to move on now just to Bricks and Potatoes versus Smug on Duel Links. And Andy Zhang is here from Bricks. This is a really interesting war, obviously, in that you were 6-1 down and managed to come back and win it 10-8. So I don't know if you were
there's like a bit of a story for this war.
okay.
So if you look at like my teams, like we kind of have like the opposite approach of TZ, where like we respect that like Karakuri is really good and like the strategy to bring a lot is good. We just approach it a different way and we try to build our lineups in a way that normally doesn't lose to it. But so our war was on Sunday, and then on Saturday, I went out to eat with like Jason, Willie, Mark, bunch of TZ people. We're all from the same area, so we just went out to eat. And during the dinner, they're just talking about like strategy, whatever. So once I go back, my team is, because Phoenix lost this week, we were already, unless we lose by like 10-1 or something, we are already guaranteed first as long as we win out the rest of our weeks. So we're like, all right, let's try something new. We'll try Karakuri. And and normally like we use like Shiranui and Krishrons, and that's what carries us. But this time we're like, all right, we'll use Karakuri. So we brought some. They ended up all losing. And then we ended up getting bailed out by Shiranui and Krishrons at the end. So
Yeah. And Gift, obviously a great player, coming first in the KCGC KC Cup style tournament. But yeah, so this was going on the same time as the Tier 0 game, interestingly enough. And I remember hearing that you were 6-1 down and thinking, wow, that's pretty crazy. And then I think about an hour later, it's like, oh, not anymore. Shiranui have gone on a complete run. So yeah, and then knocking out a lot of decks. Interesting, they sent in Weather Painters and repeated it and lost. What do you think about that matchup? Do you think, did you get lucky in the games, or do you think it was a weird choice to repeat?
I think Weather Painters have a really good control matchup, but like I think Weather Painters are a lot better against Invoke than they are against Shira, because Shira have what's level 10's name? Sun Saga.
Yeah.
So then like in addition to like playing, so most trap cards are not good against Weather Painters unless it's like Bad Aim or Ballista or like Cosmic Cyclone, things that can actually remove threats, like Floodgate and stuff like that. It's like all right, but only if Like I think Floodgate sucks against them unless like you're like Gift and you go first with 2 and then you flood both of his monsters and he can't do anything. But normally it's not supposed to do anything. So then but because Shiranui have cards like Ballista, Bad Aim, Sun Saga, it makes it like not auto lose. So then you're able to like if like play even with a disadvantage. It's like disadvantage is not that big of a deal if you're like a good player, right? Like you're not gonna like tilt and like automatically lose a game just because it's a bad matchup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just Nick, I'm going to go back to you just because you won 2 games with Weather Painters. Would you be comfortable sending them into Shiranui, or would that scare you a little bit?
I think that's like the function. I definitely agree that it has a better invoked matchup than it has like a Shira matchup. But I think part of that's just Shira is more inclined to run cards that destroy. Just like they're more
Yeah,
willing to run triple Ballista Squad, for instance,
yeah,
and
that
then
like
like
it's just
one
like they just
Cosmic.
play so much more removal.
Yeah.
And then also like one of the games was like kind of fake because like he opened double floodgate, which is usually like completely dead in that matchup, but the opponent had like they didn't have the spell that lets them dodge the floodgate. So then he went like Valhalla special a guy, and then we floodgated, and then he summoned another guy, and that got floodgated, and then now it's weather painters with 2 useless zones, so it's like they can't really do anything.
Yeah. Interesting, because like you said, Floodgate definitely isn't when you draw Floodgate against Weather Painters, you're a bit like, uh-oh. But wow, it sounds like it worked out in that one situation. I doubt that happens too
It was
regularly.
super,
Yeah, and then also, to be fair, Crystron's did pretty well here. So we've talked about them a little bit, but 4 out of 5 in the final 4 games to clutch out the war.
Mhm.
And including beating a Karakuri, would you happily send in Crystron's against Karakuri?
If I remember correctly, I don't think the one they were using played um Necro Valley. Even then, like I don't think it's like a super amazing matchup because I think like if Karakuri go first, you're playing a really uphill battle because you kind of have to hope that they have no like hard removal, and you have to have like Lance and stuff to or like a Undyne to play through
Mm-hmm.
the cash in. But I think like if you go first with Crystron's versus non Necro Valley whatever's, it's like it's decent. Like you can't stop the combo, but you can stop yourself from getting OTK'd, and you can push back pretty decently. It's like because Karakuri really have no way to OTK through an Amatrix. I'm pretty sure. Um, Also, like the stats for this is kind of skewed because I threw my game with Crystron, so like
Yeah. Once you played against Shiranui with your Crystron's, right?
well yeah, so it is dumb, but like basically he had 2 back rows, and I knew one of them was Cosmic, and I had Lance for the other one, so I could obviously just go for game, and I just didn't do that. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I just didn't do it. So
Yeah, I think sometimes that happens. We had a game like that where we knew we had a lethal play if we hit the right back row, and we basically knew which one it was, but you sometimes
and
just there's a brain
I
fart or
think that
malfunction.
I think every life in Team Wars is super important. So
Mhm.
like I beat myself over that loss, but I also don't think that me winning that game would have had a huge impact on the war. Like if you look at how the war went, just because like then we would play their second deck. It was like I think it was Necro Karakuri. So it's like unless like they just started hardbreaking with the Karakuri deck and like the Spurific never got to streak, like I don't think it would have had a huge impact on the war. But I still think it's like it's not like messing up like that's like usually really detrimental in team wars.
Yeah. How do you deal with going? I've done this, I think, multiple times now, gone 0-2. How do you personally deal with going 0-2? Like,
Well, I mean, I was 11-2 before this
oh,
week,
okay.
so now I'm just 11-4.
Okay, so you were just good enough before that. No, I can relate to that. I've got a pretty terrible Team Wars record, and it really is a confidence thing, isn't it? Going 0-2 sometimes. That's nice that you had the positive record to fall back on. Though at the same time, like stuff like MVP stats and stuff, and O2 really hurts that. And for anyone playing Fantasy League, wonder if anyone had Andy this week for Fantasy League, and
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, it's a tough one. One of the burdens of being a well-known player is that you're probably in a few teams. But hey, your team still won the war, so no harm done.
I think nobody picks me, to be honest. So
Oh,
it
okay.
should be fine.
I think Taha picks you sometimes.
Oh well,
Could be wrong, though.
well, Taha, if you're in the chat,
Yeah, he
which I'm
picks me,
pretty
he
sure
picks
he
me
is.
sometimes.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
1 week I trusted Andy Kappa.
Tenma, my team coach. Sounds like he trusted you too, Andy.
I'm sorry.
So
Dude, I just started playing. Like I said earlier, that I haven't been playing Christians, but I just started playing them again on like Wednesday. So
yeah. No, you did mention that. I realized that when I saw it. I managed to link the dots up. But yeah. And yeah, thanks for the sub. Thanks very much for the sub, Tenma. Okay, so Taha saying, I didn't make a fantasy team this week. So wow, you're not going to get a scolding from him at least, just Tenma. But yeah, anyway, congrats on the win and your first place in your group now, like you said, by a pretty comfortable margin.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we have I think we have the highest party in the league, and then we also with no pardon due to me, just all my team. But we also have I think like a one game buffer from the second place in our division.
which is that's pretty helpful. Yeah, with Phoenix, as we'll see later, as you mentioned, losing, that really helped you out. And yeah, you are one of 3 teams 6-1 or better. FM being the other 6-1 team, and rookies, who we will see as well soon, being the only 7-0 team. So looking good. Anyway, on to the rest of the reports. From this point onwards, we'll go through the reports a little bit quicker because it'd be nice to get through the meta-analysis bit, and also we don't have any team members in the voice chat because this would just go on all day else. So yeah, we'll go through to Supreme European Monarchs SEM against X Factors. So this is an interesting one because I'm not sure if this is true anymore, but before last week, Grimjow was the MVP, the most valuable player this season in terms of wins. And he didn't even get to play to try and extend that record because Sem clapped so hard beforehand, going 10-5 against X Factors, who were season finalists last season. So that's a pretty big deal. I don't know if anyone has anything to say for a minute or so on this matchup. Gonna just pass on in that case.
I mean, I could say something.
No, it's we don't need to because we will go on for the entire day if we talk about everyone in depth. But if anyone has anything like really important that they feel like they should point out.
I want to make a quick point about Japanese teams.
Yep, go on.
Like Japanese teams they're like assassins, like Japanese players. They don't talk to you. They're like silent assassins, Yeah. So just
yeah. Do you?
I think Sam is Japanese.
They have like a mental
full on Japanese.
I think more players should be like them. In terms of in terms of mindset, right? But I would say just to get them off their game, you have to get inside their head, basically, right? To get inside, like when you're playing against Japanese players, you have to get inside their head. That's how you beat them.
Okay, wow. Do you talk about that in your book then, man? The Japanese mindset.
I think even among like Japanese teams or like Asian teams in general, there's like
I talk about everything, dude. I talk about everything. That's why get my book. All right.
Okay. Sorry, Andy. What were you saying?
I was gonna say even like among Japanese teams, X Factor's like pretty different. Like we have a couple teams this season that are like they're Japanese, like X Factor and Infinity, where they're like only like 50% Japanese, right? Like I think Infinity is like Brazilian as well, and then X Factors have they have Smug, and I think they have like do they have like Plant and like Ricky and whoever?
Yeah, I don't think they have Ricky anymore, but X Factors definitely have Smug.
Yeah, so then it's like It's like not completely like they have like some Western influence in them, but like the result is just like they bring some like really like not weird in like a bad way, but it's like some really weird decks. Like I know like Pokari is like really big on Ritual Beast. Like they're still bringing Witchcrafter. They're bringing like I think they're one of the Dragoonity teams. So it's like they have a very interesting take on the meta, and I like. But then like some other Japanese teams are just like in character you go, you know.
Yeah, so it's interesting because even though a German team, Diffusion, won the league last time, I'm pretty sure most of the top 8 were Asian teams. So that's not just Japanese team. There were
Yeah.
from all overs. But this
It
season,
was
it's
7 of the top 8.
yeah. This season, it's not quite the same. Obviously, there are still some great Asian teams up there. So Love Train, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe quite a lot of your team are from South Korea.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have a couple of European people too?
For example, I'm in Germany and the Flo is French, so yeah. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, we're kind of European too.
Okay, yeah.
And I want to mention like Asian player prefer to use aggressive deck than Western players, I guess. Like we love to use Dark Magicians or Cyber Dragon and so on. I mean, Cyber Dragon is not beloved in Western community, I guess, but in Asia, it's really beloved deck, for example.
Yeah, there definitely are differences in meta, and that's interesting then. So just one last thing, Love Train, do you speak South Korean then, or is there a communication like translate bot type thing to talk?
No. In general, we discuss in Korean,
Okay.
and yeah, we make orders, and yeah, translate it in English, and yeah, that's how we communicate.
Right. Yeah. Thanks very much. It's always interesting to have the insight there. So that was SEM and X Factors, and now moving on to Neo and BZ. And we will run through these all a bit quicker now, but just BZ, I think, are third in their division after a 10-6 win against Neo. Neo, obviously, very good team last season. They've really struggled this season. What I was saying about some Japanese teams or aren't doing as well as they were last season, and Neo is a pretty good example of that with the 10-6 defeat. But yeah, I think this was a pretty standard one, some Karakuri and Shiranui streaks there. And then on to X Hunters against 12 o'clock Cheaters. Again, Crystron's winning a few games here with Dark Magicians. And I think actually a couple of X Hunters players that played are also Japanese. So even some of the European teams now have this is very much an international league this season more than ever. And that's why I thought talking about voice chat was such an interesting thing, because there are so many different language barriers. I know personally most people we have one Japanese player, but most people on my team speak English. But I imagine compared to season 1, it's very different in terms of the split. So I've not been around long enough for that. But Andy, I think you were a season 1 player. Was it the same?
I was not.
You were not. Okay, Neg, were you?
My first season was season 2.
Neg, were you a season 1 player?
I played like just a smidgen season 1.
Okay.
But, I was there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, as the veteran and the voice on this one, then when in season 1 were teams mostly American and European, would you have said?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was even any Japanese teams. I think there may have been like 1 or 2 Japanese
Up until
players.
season 2, a lot of the Japanese players played on like Western teams, and then
Yeah.
I think in season 3 was when Destiny Draw formed. And then they literally like pretty much every Japanese player except Dark King left their team. And then after that season, I think is when like rookies came, and then like switcheroo and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Darking, of course, being very influential that season when Sunclam won. But no, it's a good thing in the way that the league has developed for sure that it's so international now, because it really does make it more exciting, I think, overall. Yeah, exhibited by so many people on all these lineups coming from all over the country, all over the world. Sorry. So that is that one, and then okay, we're on to rookies now, who are the only 7-0 team. So at some point, if we can work a translator out, I think that whoever's hosting this in the future should definitely talk to someone from rookies, because we need to know their secrets. Looks like they were helped here with a DC win, but still pretty comfortable 10-6 win against Garuda, who aren't doing too bad themselves. They're 4-3. So interested to see how both of those teams get on as the season progresses. And then talking of other teams that are doing very well this season, Forbidden Memories winning out 10-8 over the Immortals. I don't know how...
You want to talk about Unicorn Control?
You want to talk about what, sorry?
Unicorn Control, the deck. I've never seen that. I think a lot of players, a lot of people in the chat is interested in
I think they actually misspelled it.
Oh, Unicorn Control. Sorry.
Yeah.
Where is it? Which game was Unicorn Control?
War, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, they did. Sorry, that is something that I should have talked about in a little bit of depth. I apologize to the chat. We can talk about Unicorn Control. I don't know if there are any experts amongst the chat in this deck.
I mean, Novo's an expert.
I don't think it's a misspelling. I'm pretty sure it's unicorn. Like the monster itself is called unicorn.
Yeah, no, because they're saying unicorn, so I thought
yeah.
I thought that it was misspelled on the thing.
It's confusing because the card art is a unicorn, isn't it? But yeah, that's how. Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't think we've got Novo with us today. Novo, if you're in the chat, then
he is in the chat.
Oh, he is. Okay. Novo, you can type anything out and we will read it. But because unless anyone feels comfortable talking about Unicorn Control, because personally I don't have a clue. I'm just going to admit it.
Well, you can get insight from Novo, but like it's a deck, or I guess it's not a deck I've looked at. But
like until they brought it today, they brought it this day. I thought Novo was the only player in the entire world that played this deck.
Yeah. Me too. I remember seeing that he did well with it, but I didn't realize that it was maybe this is the hot tip for this week, guys. When you're prepping, look at Unicorn Control, because it opened and went 2-0, so 2-1 overall. Obviously falling down to the Mammoth Force, which is Karakuri, but wow. Impressive that they can be a 7-0 team and bring decks which I'm sure most people consider meme decks. Clearly they're wrong, but...
Oh yeah, rookies definitely bring some, I would say, odd decks. Like, for example, like they bring a lot of Dragoonity, from what I've seen. And with the Majestic, with the usage skill, where you get the Majestic Dragon on the field. Like, they use some pretty crazy stuff.
I think all the Japanese teams are more willing to run unorthodox strategies, but Rookies stands out as like the only team to successfully run run those strategies like consistently, you know? I think some other Japanese teams, they'll run something unexpected to, I guess, a Western meta. And sometimes it'll work, and other times it won't. But Rookies, they don't miss with their memes, essentially.
Well, I mean, Rookies also isn't like the second highest team in their division, like X3.
I can check that in a minute, but if someone else could, that would be helpful. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they have a. Is that Diffusion with 4 and 3?
I'm pretty sure like their buffer is like huge, so they can kind of bring whatever.
Yeah. I think they're pretty comfortable. They've only got to win once and hope that Diffusion don't win it all, and then they're going to get a bye. So yeah, strong performance from Rookies, who just missed out on playoffs last season as a 6-4 team, but they've come very close before. I believe they've come second before. So well done, Rookies. You're killing it. So yeah, on to. Sorry, we had to go back and look at Unicorn Control, and then it felt right to talk about them in a bit more depth. But we are now on to Forbidden Memories and Immortals. Don't know how many people watched this one. It was a really close game. unfortunately, if you didn't watch it, you'll never get to watch it again because some idiot forgot to save the VOD, whoever that is. Yeah, but there was an interesting bit at I think it was 8-8 actually, and there was a DC between Edu and Nell, and that kind of ended up deciding the war because I think that Shiranui was in a goodish spot. But yeah,
You told
unfortunately.
me he was going to lose. So
Pardon?
Edu said he was going to lose. That's what he told me.
Yeah, yeah, as someone that was in the match chat, I think everyone accepted if the game were to continue, it probably would have been a win for Shira, but unfortunately, the disconnection happened, and Team Wars has some pretty well thought out and rigorous rules in place for this sort of thing, and yeah, Edu ended up taking it and then went on to take the war. A strong performance, winning 5 decks at the end when they were down. 4 decks in the end when they were down. So yeah, congrats Edu. You definitely rode your luck there. And also put his team first in the division. So
this was actually like also kind of a bit of like a grudge match because I think like either this week or the previous week, 2 of Immortals players left their team and they ended up. I'm pretty sure they left without knowing what team they would join, but they ended up joining FM.
yeah, and then I think Dea just had left
It
a bit
was
before that.
Daedalus and K Contrera, if I
Yeah,
recall.
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
Edu
So
also told me a funny stat that like I think they've gone 0-2 in like 6 of their 7 wars, and they're X1. So
wow. Yeah. Well, Forbidden Memories looking good going into the season, and yeah, it was a grudge match, which it looked like Immortals were going to win for a while, but Edu clutching it out at the end. Congratulations to them. And then Destiny Draw versus Switch New. So I would say that Destiny Draw are probably the closest to a, well, besides maybe Tier Zero and Bricks Potatoes, are the closest to a celebrity team in Team Wars. So many of their players have got Worlds icons. So many of them have been to Worlds. But they're not having it their own way this season. They are, I believe, 7th in their division, and Switcheroo dispatching of them 10-6 here, and I think it's impossible for them to make playoffs, and that's the first time since the first season they joined where they've not made playoffs. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any keen insight as to how that has happened, but it has.
a lot of
yes.
their players are not playing this season. Like from what I know, actually, does anybody else know anything?
Like Bobby, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, so from what I know, Bobby, Karaki, and Matsu are just not playing Duel Links at all. And also, Soon got married like 2 weeks ago, so he's been really busy.
Yeah, I mean, all of those are pretty good reasons not to play, aren't they? Getting married and I think work commitments and such. So yeah, it's showing that even the best teams have got key players that they rely on. And when you lose those players, obviously the results start to suffer. I have to point out that I don't think Destiny Draw have necessarily been awful this season. It's just they've had a bit of bad luck. So personally, in our war, we were sweating against them until we had a favourable disconnect. So yeah, I have
think
to.
this. Sorry, I think this was also like kind of a grudge match.
Yeah.
Between Tsun and King Halo. Like they're both Japanese like YouTubers and making like Duel Links content, and they have like some, as far as I know, some kind of rivalry between them. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting match to catch.
Yeah.
I believe it's mostly like a friendly rivalry.
Yeah, like
from
more for the show, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there you go. And then on to Diffusion and Duel Links Taiwan. So yeah, this would make sense as to why rookies have got such a, you would say, unassailable lead at this point, because Diffusion, their nearest challengers, went down 10-9 to Duel Links Taiwan. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything that we haven't talked about in some amount of depth in here, but just quickly, Duel Links Taiwan had a really good season last season, winning their division, but they're struggling a bit more this season. But maybe this 10-9 win will be able to put them back in it somewhat. I think they're one of the 3-4 teams that have to win all of their games with some decent round difference to qualify, but they're not out of it yet. And Gale, who is their player that carried it out there with the final 2 wins, one of the best players in Team Wars last season. So as long as he's on the roster, they always have a chance. And then going back to what Andy mentioned earlier, also helped by Bricks and Potatoes were also helped by Clawcan beating Phoenix 10-6, which gives them a pretty good buffer in their division now. And for those that don't know, winning your division gets you a bye in the first round of playoffs. So you're not in the top 12, you're straight into the top 8. It's one less game to win overall. So pretty important that you win your division if you can. And yeah, congrats to teams that are looking in good spots to do that. Though I don't think it's 100% certain in any of the divisions yet. It's pretty certain in a few of them. And then on to what I believe is the final game of the week, and that is Death Row against Kings. Death Row winning 10-4. Good open there by Shisu, and Gold closing it out with 4 wins. Luxon in the middle there doing the goods, but Death Row are another team that are 3-4, and they've got to sort of win their next 3 games with decent round difference to get through. There are a few teams like that. Yeah, apologies to everyone that I've sort of rushed through those last few match reports, but I think it's really important that we all have a chance to look at the meta analysis, which is what I'm going to bring up now, and I'm sort of going to show everyone the graph. They can have a quick look at it, and then I'd love to get everyone's thoughts on meta pictures as the whole. Maybe I'll go through top to bottom, and you just have a minute or two to talk, and then we can open up some of the bigger discussion points. So I'm going to get rid of that and add up this. So this, for anyone that doesn't know, is the meta analysis that's done on a weekly basis by the brilliant analysts at Team Wars. So it goes through each deck's individual matchup with other decks when you're reading from the left, and then a total win rate. And yeah, personally, it's really helpful when trying to work out what team you're going to play and what decks you're going to play in the next weeks, looking at this. So yeah, like I said, I think I'm going to throw it out if we go in order of how everyone is displayed on the chat, and then we can get into some of the interesting topics after that. So Andy, do you have anything to say on this meta analysis?
I think this is like the 5th week in a row that Karakuri has had like something close to like. Well, I mean, before the couple, I think it had like a 51% win rate in like a couple weeks, and then now it's like 53%, I guess. So technically higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's sort of what you expect out of that deck.
Yeah. It's impressive that a deck has that many wins when you consider how many of them have been played.
Yeah, well, it's that's sort of the thing with the deck, right? Like the if you go first with the combo, it's just that good, and then going second, I think the builds are becoming more refined, where like you can win a lot of games going second against matchups that aren't hard counters or like that don't open like the perfect cards. Yeah, maybe but at the same time, it's like teams are also starting to figure out like how they want to tackle like the Karakuri decks, right? So it's kind of, it goes back and forth because
yeah,
on it, like personally, I feel like even with Necro Valley, like Karakuri are not really like a Christian counter, but I also don't think Christians are like a Karakuri counter. I think it's pretty even matchup, and like it's not like a matchup that is determined by like how well you play. It's more so just like who goes first, how well you open, how many extenders, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, I think there are a few decks that is good against Karakuri, right? Like Invoked Magician Girls with all those back rolls, right? If you go first, but if you go second, you have like you can make like cactus too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can make plays as well. Shiranui is good if you take go first, right? You can destroy Karakuri. I would say the reason why everybody here thinks Karakuri is the best deck is because there's no system down, right? It's a side deck card, so you can side against Karakuri. So without system down, it's really hard to clear their monsters.
Yeah.
And they have like a 2-card combo that makes like a whole board, right? So over the long game, mid to long game, they have an advantage. So without system, you really need system down to beat Karakuri, like decisively. That's what I'm saying.
But can I just ask a question for Victor, like about his statement?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Victor, what do you think about like people maining system down? Do you think that people are going to start maining system down, or like do you think it's not necessary? Because you said that since in this format you cannot side against Karakuri, right? So it's really a really strong
yeah,
deck.
dude,
What
honestly,
people are going to do about it?
dude, I think I don't think people are going to main system down because there's just too many. There's like 2 other tier 1 decks, right? Evoke the Magician Girls and SSA.
Yeah.
So I don't think people can do that. Especially not in the maybe in the KC Cup, but not in the tournaments, right? Because you don't want to auto lose.
Yeah. True.
Open system down and then auto lose to like Magician Girls, right? So it's really risky. But some people might try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
in
think
the KC Cup. And
one thing,
I think they're gonna try it. Yeah, it's gonna do bad and they're gonna stop basically.
yeah, one thing I think that's worth mentioning about Karakuri is even though they're the most popular deck and they've got a positive win rate, they are not the best deck in the same way that we have seen other best decks in the history of Team Wars. So my mind, and I'm sure many other minds, cast back to the days of Fur Hire, where
Yeah.
most teams were just bringing 7 or 8. I think even Three Kings a few times, one of the legacy teams, just brought 10 just because they were that good. So when it gets to that point, if there's a card that counters this hardest system down, then maybe you consider maining it in some of your decks. But Karakuri's have only just got above 50% win rate, and there are, so like bringing a card like that feels a bit unwarranted at this stage, but who knows how the meta will develop in future. So yeah, Caleb, sorry, I'm going to come to you next. What are your overall thoughts on the meta-analysis?
Well, just complimenting, continuing what I was saying. I think that, in my opinion, the two most the strongest decks are Karakuri and Christians because of their versatility. And the other decks, some of the decks are going to depend if you go first or second. And Karakuri, you have the thing that you can brick. I mean, if you bring a lot of them, I think that was Nag that was saying that, like, if you bring a lot of them, you know that it's a consistent deck, but you know that like a percentage of it is going to break. So it's it's not a gamble, but you have a little bit of chance that you're going to break like 2 or 3 times if you break it a lot. And Christians, they're they have a lot of plays, and you can have a lot of follow-ups like with one card. So I guess these are the strongest decks in the meta right now, in my opinion. And the other ones are going to depend if you go first or second, or if you have like forbidden lands and etc.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, I'm going to come to Love Train next, and you can talk to this in general, Love Train, but one thing that I want to highlight, and I think it's worth mentioning that 27 is a small sample size before I point this out, but Invoke Magician Girls is something that everyone highly regards as a counter to Karakuri. But if you look at the results this week, it actually only won 44.4% of its games against Karakuri, and Karakuri had worse matchups by a few other decks, albeit again with low sample size. And misplays play a part as well in the exact statistics. But yeah, does that surprise you, Love Train? Only 44% against Karakuri.
It's really surprising, I guess. Like last week, results was the opposite, I guess. But yeah, this week maybe Invoke Magician Girl had bad luck, or actually, really Invoke Magician Girl is really good against the really good decks like Karakuri and Shiranui and so on. So Yeah, I think they just had bad luck, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is a very good point that you made, that last week it was different. And I am just going to quickly show week 6 meta analysis. And you are right, it was 61% win rate last week, and it was only 44 this week. So I think that is a good point there for maybe not reading too far into the meta analysis, because lots of fluctuation happens and not much has changed in terms of the format. But yeah, Invoke Magician Girls didn't counter as effectively as was anticipated this week, it's fair to say. But yeah, if you have any comments more generally on anything else, then feel free, Love Trainer. If not, I can pass on.
Or yeah, maybe Invoke Magician Girl was kind of new last week and last week, but now people know how to handle with Invoke Magician Girl. That's why Magician Girls had a bad performance this week, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. And sorry, just before I move on to Neg, I just want to point out that this table is only for the top 10 decks in terms of the most played. So all the way from Karakuri down to Weather Painters were the least played at the top 10. There are more decks used in Team Wars every week. You can see the full breakdown in this slide here, and it's posted on the Discord every week where you can go and have a look. I don't believe you have to be in a team, you can just be in the Discord. So yeah, this is a plug for anyone that's maybe watching that isn't a member of the Team Wars Discord. Go and have a look. There's loads of really interesting details in there. And you can get it without having to listening to my voice, so that's always a pro. But Neg, do you want to go on and give your take on the meta-analysis this week?
I don't have too much to say. I guess I can say a little bit about Invoked Magician Girls. I think not to say that TZ is like invents everything, but I think we were one of the first people to really push for Invoked Magician Girls as a counter to Karakuri. And I think part of that is we have a good idea of like, well, what cards are effective against Karakuri. We test the deck a lot, and Berry Magician Girl, as many people know, it's very good against all the targeting effects that Karakuri may try to do. Even if they go Samurai Destroyer, you're just triggering the skill, which is not a good thing for Karakuri. However, I think there is a degree of misunderstanding of the deck. I think a lot of people will see that one deck counters this other deck, or they will see like just the statistic. Like if you look at last week, Magician Girls had a really good performance against Karakuri. However, they might change the texts which are in the deck, and then because you're changing the text in a back row deck, and because back row is essentially half of the deck, if you're changing almost half of the deck, you're potentially changing a very big percentage of your matchup against Karakuri. So I think that would be my guess as to why this matchup perhaps changed a little bit this week.
Yeah, interesting. And yeah, interesting point that you... Magician Girls hasn't always been around. Actually, a funny story here. For those of you who know the Egg69, the guy that introduces himself when he streams is, "Hi, I'm the Egg, and this is whoever he's with." He is a member of our team, and he actually pushed for Magician Girls quite a few weeks ago as soon as the most recent round of nerfs hit, and my entire team laughed him out of town. And then a couple of weeks later, we see that the top teams trying it, and yeah, I feel like now lots of teams are fully on board. So this is me publicly apologizing to Egg, who is clearly the greatest Duel Links player in existence. He has the calls. But yeah, Victor, what are your thoughts on the meta as a whole and this analysis?
Uh,
So
I
so
think-
so like we all agree there's no monopoly, right? Kakuri has no monopoly on this meta.
Yeah.
Right? There's always like decks that counter each other. Because in Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always decks that could against each other, and it's a counter each other. So it's like this weird cycle. But in terms of consistency, there's always the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, right? That's how we rank the deck, each decks, right? The power levels by tiers. So Kakuri is the most consistent deck right now, right? In terms of because of the restart, you get a new hand, and it's just a 2-card combo, right? You don't play 30 cards where you can break. So yeah, that's one. That's why I would say like there's no monopoly. It's not like 2003, right? Not 2003.
Yeah.
Where there's only one deck and everybody's playing the same deck. So
excuse me a little bit, just a second. I think that Xerex is asking
Yeah,
to.
I've seen. Don't
close
worry. Yeah. Thanks very much for pointing that out. I've got his message. Yeah. Sorry, Victor. Go on.
No, I'm done.
Oh, great. Sorry. Perfect timing then. Yeah, and I am just gonna, before we go into some of the specific decks and questions, Zenzo, have you got any takes on this analysis graph? On this one?
While the win rates changed, I still think that like we have like I would call it like the big four or something like that. Like Karakuri, Shiranui, Crystron, and Invoke Magician Girls are like the top contenders of or the most meta-defining decks at the moment. And yeah, and I can understand why T0 brings a lot of Karakuri because the deck is like really strong. It has like room, like some people, like a lot of people try to counter it with Invoke Magician Girls, but like Karakuri has a lot of space for tech cards, and you can always change up the build. And depending in combination with your other pair, you can prepare pretty well and cover like most of the meta. So I do think that Karakuri is in fact like one of the best decks.
Yeah.
And then I would say the followed by the rest, like Shiranui, Invoke, Magician Girls, and Crystron.
Cool. Thanks.
But overall, I don't think like a lot of stuff didn't change compared to last week.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important to say for those that don't know, in terms of anything in the game, nothing really changed. The exact same meta existed. It's just that there is obviously every week slight fluctuation between what does well and what doesn't because of trends. So yeah, I'm now going to move on to a couple of specific decks and questions, or maybe even matchups as we get into it. But the first one I want to talk about is don't know why it's in 10th place because it looks like it was more played than Witchcrafters. But Neg, you were one of the players to use Weather Painters this week. It has a very small sample size of 11. Didn't go positive, but obviously in your war it went well. Do you see Weather Painters as something that are going to come into the meta? And then after Neg has had his initial comments on it as someone that played it, then I think everyone can sort of talk about their opinions on Weather Painters. So off to you, Neg.
All right, so I think at the start of the ban list like format, there was a degree of uncertainty as to what teams would use to counter back row decks, because Witchcrafter was nerfed, and for a while Witchcrafter was the de facto killer of Shiranui or Element Saber. But now that we have Shiranui and Invoke Magician Girls, there is this void of, okay, what do we use to beat the control decks as, you know, our like counter? And I think Weather Painters do that very well just because control decks are very consistent. However, Weather Painters they're a balanced deck, so their consistency is equal to or surpassing like the control decks. So you don't have to worry, or you probably won't have to worry about just like bricking or maybe having to use a repeat. It's just unlikely to happen. And then there's also the benefit of Weather Painters just like not having any. They do have some bad matchups, but the bad matchups are like not very present, you know? Say like Black Queens or Cyber Dragons, like these decks, people would agree are very difficult for Weather Painters, or they can be difficult. It's just that the decks that you don't want to see as a Weather Painter player they're not getting used enough that I think Weather Painters may stay around for at least a little longer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then that is the. And sorry, just to clarify something I previously said, that Witchcrafters were as played as Weather Painters. It's just that this graph obviously only shows the top 10 decks, and when they played against each other, it doesn't factor in other decks that don't make it here. So, yeah, Witchcrafters and Weather Painters both coming in with 11 decks. And thanks for that, Neg. It was really interesting, and yeah, really good points on it as a anti-back row deck. Anyone else now? Want to say their piece on Weather Painters?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not too familiar with.
It's annoying deck, I must say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry, you go.
I mean, -1 covered like most of it, so I don't think I can add anything to that.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's like as mentioned earlier, it's just interesting that even though it sounds like BNP got lucky with their double floodgate, it's very helpful when a deck goes against another deck and there are between 5 and 6 cards that just do nothing against that deck. Generally, you're going to put yourself in a pretty good position when that happens. So
Yeah, it's like Floodgate against Weather Painters is usually like Floodgate against Ritual Beast. It just doesn't do anything.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think another like small
so,
thing
like,
is that
Painters
Weather Painters
just one of those decks that are a little bit annoying, you know.
A bit boring.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people don't know what the
Yeah,
cards
it's a little bit
do.
annoying. Like it's one of those decks that's like annoying, but yeah, exactly. But it loses to like combo decks, like really strong combo decks, like Karakuri. If you go second, it's just like that, right?
Yeah. And obviously it does. I think one of the things about Weather Painters and maybe why it's not been seeing very much play until this point is even though it has such strong matchups, it's quite polarizing in its matchups. And unfortunately, with a sample size of 11, we can't really go into depth about that. But personally, and this isn't always the case, but like a well-timed CC can really hurt Weather Painters, and lots of decks are playing CC. So while it's going to beat the decks that can't, so only the control-based decks, it's going to struggle against. It's going to struggle against those decks like Karakuri that are drawing half their deck and getting CC. And I just want to go to something that Sniffers mentioned, which is the 25% win rate against Shiranui. It is worth mentioning that 2 of those games that it lost, so 50% were against Bricks and Potatoes, and it's once was because of
they
the
were
free
versus
currents
Gits,
of
so
Flood.
obviously don't count, right?
Well, it sounds like the Flood makes it very interesting, to say the least. So yeah, and then
I think like at least when I was watching, like I kind of knew this beforehand, but like when I was watching, especially, I just felt like Sun Saga is like it's really big in that matchup. Like and a lot of times the traps that they play, like Life Barrier and Rainbow Life, do not like they don't help. Like they don't help versus Sun Saga. Like they help versus your bad matchups. They help versus Magician Heroes, but versus like just like a hard removal monster like a Sun Saga, it's not that helpful.
yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. Okay, on to sort of the next topic of discussion, and I'm going to go to the deck that has the best win rate with a sample size of over 10 games. Sorry to Neg, I know you are a big Witchcrafters fan, but I'm talking about Shiranui here. So pretty strong win rates across the board. Dark Magician being the only really clear, obvious counter when you look at statistics here. And then the other one is arguably the Ghost Meets Girl Shiranui, but that was played in quite small numbers. And it was only 50-50 from a counter side. Is there an argument that you could just, instead of loading up on Karakuris, load up on Shiranuis and you would do nearly as well, or is that crazy talk?
My team did that for like 2 weeks. Not recently, but like for 2 weeks we did that. I think the streak potential of Karakuri is a lot higher, but I think I don't want to make this sound bad, but like if you think like the other team is like gonna misplay, then like you can use a deck like Shiranui to punish that.
Yeah.
Because like I think Karakuri is like one of the things I don't like it. Like I think Karakuri has a lot of strengths, right? Like I think it's really sacky. I think it's the tournament board is really broken. But one of the things is if your opponent messes up, I don't think there's a lot that Karakuri does to punish misplays because like you're kind of just doing your combo, and even when you're playing more interactive cards like Ballista or I guess like Karma Floodgate, like traps, it's not like you still need to resolve your combo at some point to physically win the game, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like Shiranui is like you can kind of just grind out, and then if your opponent messes up, you can punish that. If they play around your background correctly, you can punish that. Um, but definitely like the way it wins is very different from the other decks that can streak this meta. Like I think Crystron's and Karakuri can just like overpower your opponent, whereas like Shiranui kind of relies on your opponent to either open weaker or like not play as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you opening Squire?
I don't play Squire,
Yeah.
so I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there is a joke within quite a lot of our team. It's just the best players just open Squire, and that's why the deck is so good at the moment. And if you're not opening Squire, you're just not good enough.
I
But
just go first with Solitaire, Ballista, all that.
yeah,
I think just to give the TZ perspective, like the really dominant position that Shiranui can be in is typically when it goes first with back row, or it like has to open Squire with like a level 4 so that it can do skill and interactions and such. But like if your deck is really dependent on going first, then it's like, why are you running this deck and not running Karakuri, where you could potentially just auto win for going first? So
True.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely think that maybe the skill level, though Karakuri is not a deck without skill ever. And
No,
it's
that,
okay.
like,
You can say it.
I tried to make that
Easy
clear.
is all idiots. You don't mind.
Unfortunately, I'd be offending a lot more than just TZ. I think lots of people are playing Karakuri, but I do think that the skill level is lower with Karakuri than it is with perhaps Shiranui. Especially so, someone personally, I was free to play on this game for like most of a year and never got around to getting Shiranui, and I've only just recently picked them up. And like I learned Karakuri pretty quickly, but Shiranui there's a lot more nuances too. And I'm sure that lots of people have had similar experiences when learning the decks. And when you obviously with most decks in Duel Links, when you play them consistently, then like it starts to make sense and all the combos are there. But I do think that there are definitely more lines of plays with Shiranui, and then even more lines again with the Ghost Meets Gale Shiranui, but that's not performing as well at the moment. So yeah. One more thing that I want to mention. Oh, sorry, we've had a subscriber.
I forgot I had this message just sitting
Yes, Nova
here.
Mortis.
I could have used it earlier when I was asked.
Well,
LUL.
Thanks, Novo. we will get back to Unicorn. Do not worry. But before we get back to Unicorn, there is one more deck that I want to talk about, and it's a deck that didn't even make the list, and it is Cyber Dragon. And I want to pick up on something that Love Train said. So Cyber Dragon is a deck that is much more popular for Eastern teams and Eastern players right now. Love Train, why do you think that is?
Is Diffusion an Eastern team?
Well, it's east of America.
Yeah. Yeah.
East America.
Yeah. Was out of interest, just because I know Drizzles is a big Cyber Dragon player? I'm assuming it wasn't just Drizzles that used Cyber Dragon this week, and there were other teams.
Though it has 6 games played.
It has 5 games played and 1 win. So if it just won a few more games, it would have made the top 10, but it didn't do very well. But yeah, I just wanted to pick up. Love Train said that it's bigger. Is that in tournament format more?
Yeah. Actually, Cyber Dragon has strength in the tournament like KC Cup format, and you must know like like Asian players, they don't want to spend money much more than European players. I mean, European players or Western players, they really pay and they really spend money, but Asian players are like a little bit passive, but like extrovert, introvert. I mean, like yeah, like Cyber Dragon is a really good box, and you can get the 2 stable decks, Dark Magician and Cyber Dragon and Super with Samurai, so 3 decks. So many Asian players have Cyber Dragon, and yeah, they play too. And it's aggressive deck, so which makes the game really fun.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's interesting that Cyber Dragon does fit to a KC Cup format pretty well because they are quick games, and it is just, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna frankly say that Cyber Dragon is even bigger helmet deck.
I think in the KC Grand Tournament, Cyber Dragon was the most used deck in top 100.
Yeah,
But it was also not like no one from top 10 used it.
Didn't maybe one person?
I was gonna say, didn't
Act
Act from top 10 use it, or did he not make top 10 in the end?
I don't think Act was the person in top. I think it was someone else. I'd have to double check that, but I think he got like 11th or 12th.
Okay.
Got close.
Yeah.
Someone else got.
I think it was Act.
No one in top 10 used it, but it was the most used deck in top 100.
Yeah, it was. I think near the end, I just like had a streak of Cyber Dragon games.
In the KC Cup thing.
Pardon? Oh.
Cyber Dragon. Yeah, you mean like in the KCGT KC Cup style qualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Not the top 16.
Act got 11th, but he also used Cyber Dragons in the last KC Cup actually, and he got a gold icon.
Oh, okay. So he managed it once. Yeah, I just want to take this moment to thank all Cyber Dragon players everywhere, because without them, my Ritual Beasts would have never done well. So, yeah, I'm glad that it's a popular deck still, but not performing as well as it has been previously. So there we go. And the final one I'm going to talk about, and this is just a fun thing that happened recently. There was a tournament where people were given free entry if they ran a invoked hero deck. And I think there were well over 20 of them. And I think the best out of that was top 8. So I don't know. I'm sure that the person that is making all of this happen disagrees, but I would suggest that doesn't prove that the deck is quite top tier. But
I heard that he paid for 29 entries, but there was only 27 of the deck in the tournament.
Oh wow! So
two
people absolutely snakes.
So allegedly, it wasn't snaking. 2 people weren't able to play. So whether or not that was a snake, we don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they'll definitely play the Invoke Hero next time they enter with that ticket, right?
Perhaps. You never know.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, interesting. Heroes, only 24 decks played, but a pretty big win rate there on 54%. Where are we all thinking that traditional heroes, which is just Trinity Crush or Mass Change for game, how are we thinking that is sitting right now in the meta? Okay, I'm gonna go. Just it obviously still has its strong matchups. So Dark Magician is the one that kind of stands out there.
Oh wait, sorry. Are we talking about invokes?
No, just regular hero, the hero that we're seeing in Team Wars. This is of course a Team Wars stream, so we better keep mostly to that. Oh, yeah, it's free. Whoever wants to go now.
I guess heroes good against Karakuri if they put other monsters in attack mode, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many players who forgot to put their monsters in defense against heroes.
Yeah, I don't know what
you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what game you could have been referring to there, but yeah, my team personally.
I'm referring to what one.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm joking. I know.
Yeah. My team too.
I'm not certain that's the right play because like
My team too. Yeah.
if you summon all your monsters in defense, they can kill all your monsters without even like going for a big OTK push, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's definitely something you can debate, but it definitely helped us that all three of them were in attack and we could Trinity Crush for game. It was
Yeah.
a pretty free win. I enjoyed it a lot, even if it
But
didn't
even
work
then,
out.
but even then, like you need to draw like a True Nade or something because even if you destroy the back row, if Cashin is in the graveyard, and if you don't have a Seared Tomb life, they can just change the Trinity to defense. So
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
exactly. That's what I'm
TDS.
saying. Like if you have them in attack and you have like 2 or 3 back row, then you're pretty
Yeah.
solid. Whereas like if you have them in defense with 2 or 3 back row, then they can just attack you with like Stratos. And then when you use your trap, then they'll match change. So then now you need another trap, right?
Mhm.
So then I'm not sure if that's better.
It's just like PDS is saying on the chat that if Heroes goes second and has 2 CC, they win. It's basically it because of Trinity, you know. So
Yeah.
if you destroy the entire back row and you do Trinity, which is like really easy to do, then you win, you straight win. But if you have a lot of back row, probably you're going to lose. You know, if you
Mhm.
don't draw at least 1 CC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, thanks everyone for.
I guess my point is you just don't want to auto lose to Trinity. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. And unfortunately, for those that didn't tune into the game, one of the other wins we got with heroes was one hero monster free mass chains attacked directly 3 times. So yeah, it's definitely
Oh
still
my God.
the sack deck of the format when you're drawing like that, or when Lotso is drawing like that. So it worked out well. Great. I am finished with this segment now, and I'm going to try. There we go. Sorry, that is not very big. But just have a quick moment to look at the Champions League power rankings as they currently stand. So these are the best players so far in terms of wins and losses. It doesn't take into account how easy or hard those wins or losses were, just straight who has the best stats. And Cabio is out in the way in the lead there on 22 wins and I believe 8 losses, or is that 6 losses? No, that is 8 losses. Sorry, it's not super clear. But then there are very notable people in the top 10. Sperific, just behind 21 and 11. Zeta. So yeah. And then Grimjow, like I said, down there, only 4 games played, like Cabio, at 20 for 8. I don't know, has anyone in this chat ever been on the Power League rankings in the past?
Like this season or in general?
No. Andy, you were near the top in the 2nd or 3rd season, if I'm right.
Well, usually I'm like, I think in season 2 I was, and then season 5, I think I was like up there for a while. But this season I have like a pretty good record, but like I'm like the power rankings are based on wins and not losses. So
Yeah.
like I don't have as many wins as like some of these guys.
Yeah. I think that is something that is worth pointing out. It's not necessarily people that have the best overall records. It's just people that have won the most. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and like that's fair. I'm not saying that like messed up or
Yeah.
anything. I'm
Yeah.
saying it's yeah.
But the MVP is not necessarily the person that comes top of the power rankings. It's definitely something worth clarifying. But it is an interesting stat to see.
Apparently you can zoom in.
Yeah,
on this.
I have a little bit. Maybe it'll be more helpful if I do a tiny bit more.
Okay.
Oh god, that is a bit too much now. We only get the first 8, but there you go. Sorry if you were 9th or 10th. I've sort of taken you out of the scene there. But these are our top 8 players, and hopefully everyone can see that very clear. And yeah, there we go. So we have time for one more thing on this stream while we have another 10 minutes left, and that is just moving into the next week now. We'll do a quick bit about what matches could be important, but it would be wrong to not talk at all about a new box that just came out. So, of course, the box I am talking about is Shark Fang. And does anyone have any comments on how good, or more likely how not good, this box is looking?
Well,
all I
I
can,
think the new box
sorry.
is
Go ahead.
yeah. I think the new box is pretty it's decent, but it's not like meta changing, right? You look at all the XYZ monsters, it's water only, right? The shark trick is water monsters only, so you can't really use it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they like since
You get Stratos, yeah.
the new world has just been released, so they're just releasing first the generic cards for the archetype, and then they're going to start to releasing more like powerful full cards, you know.
Mhm.
And I think for me, for my personal experience, I'm just opening it because I don't have Stratos. Otherwise, I would basically.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So Element Hero Stratos, a card that was only purchasable through the selection box, has
Yeah.
finally come to Duel Links now in an actual box, so anyone can buy it without having to use money or anything like that. You can use your own gems and try and get free Stratos, which is required for the hero deck. So I'm sure lots of people are happy about that, and I'm sure that the
Or the hero
27.
invoke deck? Or what?
Yeah, I mean, it can be used in the Hero Invoke deck too. I think it's being used at 3 copies in the Hero Invoke
Hero
deck.
Invoke.
It's
People are going to really play this deck.
Who knows?
it's kind of weird. Like they didn't make release a new selection box this year. Like last month, they didn't release a new selection box. So
No.
it's a little bit weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be, maybe that is
Also,
something
because
from player.
usually they have a new selection box, right?
Yeah, maybe that is a player feedback thing, or maybe they've got another one planned later in the year. But it doesn't look like a selection box is coming before the KC Cup. It looks like
Yeah.
we're just gonna deal with this main box here. Yeah, keen to get other people's thoughts on it. So does anyone? I just write out. Is anyone going to say that this is an amazing box that everyone should be buying 3 copies of?
I guess not.
Usually, like with these new world boxes, like with synchros and now with exceeds, I usually go through the box. Even if it sucks, I go through it like once just to get one of all the exceeds.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it with the mini box. I think that's just good. Like if you're planning to play the game long term.
Yeah.
That's what I've done
At the
with the
moment, I
last.
think the most impactful new card
Yeah, I
is
would do
probably
that.
going to be the rank 7 that Dark Magician can make, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All the other cards don't seem to have much immediate impact besides cards that we already had.
Yeah, is this the rank 7? I'm pretty sure it is.
I think the last box was like this, right? People just open it one time because of the generic XYZs and etc.
That's what I do, yeah. I don't know if other people were, yeah. But generally, that's what I do.
doing this as well.
Or maybe if you're a number Santa collector and you want to have all the number cards.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you're rich, then you're going to buy everything.
Yeah, I would just get a staples. That's it.
Yeah. So this is one of the biggest cards of the box, I think, could be argued, and it's a generic rank 4.
Yeah.
For those that played the
That's
TCG, this card was pretty much a staple in extra decks for.
This card was really good in 2012. Yes.
Yeah. Whether it translates to Duel Links as well, we're yet to see. But I think this is the type of card that people are suggesting you should still go in and get 1 copy of. But the next question, just gonna filter through some of the more staple XYZ cards. But the next question, which I'm also going to throw out to the open, is next week in Team Wars, is this having any impact at all on the decks that are played?
Don't lie to yourself.
No.
I'm not sure.
We might see Dark Magician summon the Titanic Maw. That's really all I'm expecting.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm very interested in the Gagaga archetype, but there's a huge bug.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear
There's actually a bug
about
with,
it? Yeah, Go Golem Golden Form. It has a glitch or bug. I mean, you cannot negate citrate, for example.
Yeah, you can't negate any quick effects, and it really sucks that I pulled a prismatic too.
Well, this is the card here.
It's really good card, actually. I mean, you can negate monster effect twice. But let's see.
I mean, I could see Rookie Spring and Sharks. I don't know.
Yeah, that it definitely there are obviously the other archetype that came in the box is Evil Swarm or Ill Swarm, and that misses some of its key cards that made it such a force in the TCG, but it's another archetype that. Like Neg said, there's no point kidding ourselves. It's unlikely we're going to see any of these cards in Team Wars other than the level 7 Exceed. But yeah, maybe one for the future. Maybe in the future we'll be seeing some of these cards, and maybe we'll be seeing more heroes next week, because now everyone has heroes
Yeah,
for free. But even that
true.
might be a bit of a stretch. So we're just going to have to see what happens there.
Yeah. So I do want to say this. I don't want to say
Yeah.
this for Evil Swarm. You really need Ophion, right? You really need Ophion and the Investigation Pandemic spell card, right? So without those, it's really
Didn't you top 32 like a YCS with Evil Swarm?
Because this is an anti-mana deck. I did, yeah. Yeah, I did. I topped
Yeah.
2013 YCS Toronto. So I went first Swiss 8-0 in the day one with Evil Swarm.
Yep.
Because I knew everybody was going to play Dragon Rulers. It was a Dragon Ruler format, so Evil Swarm was the perfect counter to Dragon Rulers, right? So many games that I just went 2-0. Like they can't do anything. I just saw them OP on this pass. Like easy wins.
Wow. I hope that we hear more about that one in your book, Victor.
Oh, another thing I could say about the box is like, I mean, you can rather buy Victor Lee's book than the new box. I think that will help you more in the long run.
Well, there you go. Okay.
You don't really hear.
Final thing I'm going to do, and I will scroll down to make sure that the other matches get in at some point. But here, I'm actually just going to zoom out. That would be much easier, wouldn't it? But these are the games coming up this week. Are there any that anyone thinks looks very spicy? Any important games? I would say the most important game in terms of potential playoffs is Divine versus Garuda. Both teams 4 and 3. Whichever one of those loses is going to really struggle to make playoffs, considering Bricks and Potatoes are also in that group of 4. So yeah, good luck to that one, Victor, and to Garuda. But are there any other games besides that one that people are looking at and thinking this is an important game?
In terms of making playoffs?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna beat.
Looks
I
like
have
mostly.
my own bias. Sorry.
That for sure. that just matters.
Like, I mean, like the TZ X Factor one is not. I think neither of you guys are really at high risk of like not making playoffs, right? Like X Factor is like third. They're like X2, and then TZ is X1, X2.
Yeah, X2.
Yeah. So
I didn't think X Factors were doing as good, but maybe I'm wrong.
our division is like pretty skewed. Like until I think until we played them, they were first in our division anyway. So. And we only won by like one game. So then, until this recent week, Phoenix and us were tied. Like we're tied in wins, and then X Factors were behind just one game. We're behind.
So
one win.
X Factors are actually 3 and 4 right now. Interestingly, so they are. They need to win all of their game. Yeah, they are. So they need to win all of their games and with some decent wins to have any chance. So yeah, that's another potential big game. Tier 0. Obviously, if Tier 0 lose, it's not a catastrophe. There are more weeks to get the necessarily wins and round difference. But for X Factors, it's pretty big. And when a team is desperate, they're going to put a lot more prep in and everything like that. So you could see some of the 3 and 4 teams this week, or the 4 and 3 teams that absolutely need to win, playing out of their skin maybe. And that could spice up a few of these games.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that beyond just like my team's game, just like our division, there's like 3 teams that are X2 and then 1 team X1. So it's like the competition between these teams against the other teams. It's like
yeah,
all of those games will impact placement in our division. So even if it might not be playoffs or not playoffs, there's a very strong chance that whoever does best over these 3 weeks will get first place because everyone's so close.
Yeah.
I think Division 4 definitely ended up being the hardest one.
Yeah. So I am gonna chuck some. So there are 8 teams that 5 or 2 are better currently. So the 7-0 teams mentioned of rookies, the 6-1 teams of Forbidden, Memories, and Bricks and Potatoes. The 5-2 teams being Lost Tribe, BZ, and Tier 0, all in the same division, by the way. Draw Sense and Phoenix make up the other teams. So those are 8 teams, and you'd say of those 8 teams, unless an absolute disaster strikes, they should all be making playoffs, and 4 of them will probably end up taking the first place week bye. But then behind that, there are Switcheroo, Abusement Park, my team, Sun Clan, Divine, Claw Clan, Supreme European Monarchs, Defusion, Pharaohs, and Garuda. And Divine, and they are all, I've said Divine twice there, sorry. They are all 4-3 teams, and only 4 of them, assuming that the other 8 teams make it, can make playoffs. So it's a lot of teams they're fighting out. And then when you consider there are also 3-4 teams, such as X Factors and Smog on Duel Links and Death Row, who are also fighting out, there are. Yeah, when you go below 5-2, there are lots of teams fighting for not many positions, so that's going to be interesting going forwards. So yeah, something to look forward to next week, seeing which of those teams fall at the first hurdle and which of them keep involved. Okay, I think we've been going for 2 hours now, so I think we're gonna call it to a close in a minute. But I'm just gonna go through everyone that's still here. Thanks. Firstly, I want to say thank you for everyone that came out to watch, and especially thank you to all of the people that came and talked today. It's been really interesting hearing your insights. I'm just going to do a closing remarks for each person before we leave. So I'm going to go from bottom to top this time. So zenzoh, if you want to take it away.
Sorry, my English is kind of bad. What should I do?
Just a closing remark. Just say thank you, any shout outs that you want to do and such. Yeah.
Oh yeah, big shout out to Prince K. Like he helped me a lot in the past days with like deck building and stuff. Yeah, shout out to all the German people watching at home. Stay safe, like Corona and shit. Like watch y'all. Stay safe. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Good job hosting, dude. Shout out to
and
my
buy
team Divine.
Buy Victor Lee's book.
I'm pre-ordering it.
Appreciate it. So shout out to my team member, Divine. Shout out to Razuya, right? He asked me to shout out. So yeah. But yeah, like if you want to learn more about the game, just get the new Victory Gaming book. I'm sure it'll help you. But yeah,
great. Okay.
For everyone for watching.
Yeah. Thanks. Neg.
Thanks for having me. Shout out my team, I guess, but they're never here, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, hopefully we all do well.
Yeah. Love Train.
Yeah, thank you for today too. And I want to ask Victor Lee if his book is ebook too. If it's available, then I'm gonna buy it maybe.
It's available. It's available on Amazon. So if you have it's free if you have a Kindle on.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I'm gonna have a look.
You should have plugged that bit. That's very exciting. All the Prime subs here and stuff. I'm sure many people will be reading the book in the days to come.
Yeah, it's free for like any Prime.
Yeah. So great. Thank you. And Caleb.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I just want to thank Team Wars for the invite. Thank you for hosting this show. It was amazing. Thank you everyone that is here, and shout out to my Brazilian teammates that are listening to this program, and my Portuguese as well. People that are watching that like me and etc. So I think that's it. And it's good to be back because I was kind of retired for the game. So now I'm back. It's good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back, and thanks for coming on. Okay, Andy, you can close it out.
Just shout outs to my team. Honestly, for a long time, I've been feeling like Team Wars might be something that I might be done with, but I'm having a lot of fun this season. So thanks, my team, for that.
Good to hear it. Long live Team Wars. Thank you so much, everyone that came out, and yeah, I'm sure everyone come in the chat when I'm hosting games this week, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the season. Thanks very much, and that's it.